BetUS, America's favorite sportsbook and casino. Live betting and racebook. We're celebrating 30 years with a historic offer. A 125% sign-up bonus on your first 3 deposits. Plus 10% gambler's insurance. Get started today. BetUS, where the game begins.
All right, we're back this weekend. Man, before I start, rest in peace to Charlie Kirk. That was just blowing up all my news today. Crazy. Rest in peace to Charlie Kirk. Good dude. Man, that's just sad to see. They couldn't debate him, so they had to kill him. Super unfortunate. But this weekend, this Saturday, probably one of the best weekends in fighting in a long time, because you got the UFC, and then right after the UFC, they timed it perfectly so Dana can be at both events. Or, sorry, not Dana. I mean, people can watch both events. So they pretty much just want you watching combat all day, because they purposely put this card a little earlier just so fight fans will tune in to the Canelo fight as well afterwards. So I really love that, because for me, that's just perfect. For my Saturday, that's beautiful, watching fights all day. I couldn't ask for a better weekend than that. Not gonna lie. So UFC Noche, Mexican Independence Day weekend. We got 2 Brazilians fighting in the main event, though. Where's the Mexican in the main event? All right. We got a guy who's Brazilian that fights out of Mexico, so I don't know if that counts, but born in Brazil, clearly 2 Brazilian flags, Diego Lopes, Jean Silva. What a great main event. I mean, Diego Lopes is an absolute monster, exciting fighter. Obviously, his last fight, he got shut down his last fight, but I was against one of the best guys in the world, pound for pound legend, Alexander Volkanovski. Volkanovski at one point, maybe 2 years ago, was number 1 pound for pound until the Islam fight. Even after the first Islam fight, he was still pound for pound because of how good he did in the first fight. And then the second fight, short notice, knocked out, and then Topuria, whatever. We all know the rest. But what I'm trying to say is Diego Lopes is the real deal. The fact that he's plus 200, I even seen Jean Silva minus 350 and Diego Lopes almost like a plus 275. I mean, I think that's crazy, man. Diego Lopes is a live dog, and he's got great jiu-jitsu, my friend. He puts some real people in some threatening positions with his Brazilian jiu-jitsu, including Movsar Evloev, who's one of the best guys in that division, who probably should have had a title shot by now, and he's just been overlooked. I think he's got 9 in a row. That's crazy. But obviously, Lerone's going to jump him, and yeah, who knows if he's ever going to get a title shot or not. But let's look into Jean Silva, man. Every person I've seen Jean Silva fight, he's just destroyed, other than our boy Kevin Vallejos. Kevin Vallejos has some of the best boxing I've seen in that weight class. Even in the UFC, his boxing is really nice. Obviously not on a Topuria level yet, but it's very beautiful, his boxing. He was 11-0 at the time. They fought in the Contender Series, and that was the only guy I've really seen hold his own. I mean, everyone else has just been getting finished. So that shows you how tough and good Kevin Vallejos is, because Kevin Vallejos went in there all 3 rounds. I mean, he took a beating, but I mean, Jean Silva is the real deal. And the fighting nerds need this guy. If they want to get a title anytime soon, Jean Silva is the only guy who's close enough, in my opinion, to get the title shot from the fighting nerds, because Prates lost to Ian Gary, so he's got to work his way back up, and Hufi and Bohalio lost, so those guys going to have at least a few more fights to get back in that title picture, or one big one at least, so they might be out for a while. So, Jean Silva, this guy hasn't lost since 2018, and that was, he only had 3 or 4 fights at the time, so he lost a unanimous decision, and before that, in 2017, he lost a split decision. But ever since that unanimous decision lost, in 2018, he lost the unanimous decision, and he went on like 7 knockouts in a row, or 7 finishes in a row in the first round. Then he fights Kevin Vallejos, goes to a decision. Then after that war with Kevin Vallejos, he's been finishing everybody. Finishes Weston Wilson, finishes Charles Jourdain, finishes Drew Dober, the Doberman, finishes Melsik Bagdasaryan, who's a very good striker, and then he ninja chokes Bryce Mitchell, who's known to be the jiu-jitsu guy. So he's got a very well-rounded game. He's got submissions, he's got knockouts, he's got flying knees. He can bark like a dog. He's the real deal. We've never seen him fight somebody on the level of a Diego Lopes, though. Diego Lopes is a step up in competition, and Diego Lopes, he comes out very aggressive in that first round. And Diego Lopes has beat some big names, man. He's beat the Brian Ortega. He's almost finished Brian Ortega in that first round. Beat Dan Ige, not the most impressive fight. But, he finished Sadiq Youssef, finished Pat Sabatini, which was an impressive one. Pat Sabatini's tough. Triangled Gavin Tucker. So he's very impressive. And he's a finisher. So his only 2 losses in the UFC have came to Movsar Evloev, who's like 19-0. And to Volkanovski, pound for pound OG. So the fact that he's plus 200, is he a good live bet to bet on? Yeah, absolutely. But this one is a bad matchup for him, sort of stylistically, because on the feet, Jean Silva is the better striker out of the 2. The issue is, if this gets to the ground, Diego Lopes does have the advantage in the jiu-jitsu, but Jean Silva does have really good takedown defense, so he's hard to get to the ground. And his jiu-jitsu is pretty good as well. He does have submissions, choked out Bryce Mitchell, so the guy's dangerous everywhere. So I'm going to go with Jean Silva, and I believe it's better for the UFC, better for the division if Jean Silva wins, because Diego Lopes just won. So if he takes out a contender, it's not so good because he already had that shot. He won't be getting another one real soon. So it's better if Jean Silva wins in impressive fashion. Now you can throw him in there in the title mix, which is exactly what you want. So I'm going to go with Jean Silva on that one. This one is a good one. Rob Font taking on David Martinez. So, Rob Font, OG in the game. He's almost getting close to 40 now. 38 years old. Big step up in competition for David Martinez. He's had one fight in the UFC against Simon Oliveira and one fight in the Contender Series, and now you're stepping in there with a very, very experienced Rob Font. I'm going to go with Rob Font on this one just because of the experience. This guy's only had one fight in the UFC, one fight in the Contender Series. Rob Font has literally fought everybody, man. Like, Rob Font has some big wins recently, too. Like, he beat Gene Matsumoto. It was a split decision, but he still got the win. Beat Kyler Phillips, which is really impressive. Kyler Phillips, the Matrix. Finished Adrian Yanez. Like, he had a war with Aldo, had a war with Marlon Vera. Had a war with Davison Figueiredo. So Rob Font, he sometimes he can get clipped with the chin. It's a little suspect. Sometimes he's been hurt, especially in that Marlon Vera fight. And he does have some issues with the grappling, but I think this is a big step down in competition. And this kid is, I know he's younger, 27, and Rob Font's getting a little older, but he's coming off 2 straight wins. And one of them over Kyler Phillips, the Matrix. So that's pretty impressive. I'll go with Rob Font, the OG, on that one. Rafa Garcia taking on Jared Flash Gordon, man. Jared Gordon, every time I think of Jared Gordon, I think about how he got robbed in that the Patty fight. But clearly it worked out well for the UFC because they definitely want Patty to win. I thought he won the Patty fight, and, he had a big win right after the Patty fight. Beat Mark Madsen, the Olympian. Lost a split decision to Nasrat Hakparast. And then his last fight, he had a great performance. Finished Thiago Moises. So that was probably one of Jared, in my opinion, Flash Gordon's best performance was that win over Thiago Moises. But he is fighting a very, very tough Rafa Garcia here. Rafa Garcia is tough. He could take a shot, that's for sure. He did get finished to Grant Dawson, but Grant Dawson is for real. I mean, this is another guy that I could say being a live dog. Rafa Garcia, he's not bad. It's a little step up in competition. If there was his closer odds, I mean, for the odds, Rafa Garcia is not a bad bet. But, I mean, I do think Jared Gordon should get the job done. If I'm ever to bet on it, I would bet Jared Gordon by decision. I don't think he's going to be finishing Rafa Garcia. Rafa Garcia is tough, but anything can happen. But I would probably lean towards Jared Gordon. But Rafa Garcia is not a bad bet for the odds. And he could grind out a decision. I mean, anything can happen with these UFC judges. Kelvin Gastelum taking on Dustin Stoltzfus. Kelvin Gastelum, he's only 33, but you would think he's like 43 with the amount of miles. I mean, there was a time where Kelvin Gastelum lost like 7 wins in a row, or 7 wins, or 7 out of 8, with his only one being over Ian Heinisch. Now he's 2-2 in his last 4, notably beating Daniel Rodriguez. That was impressive, but his last one he did get absolutely destroyed by Joe Pfeiffer. He's taking on Dustin Stoltzfus. I'm gonna go with Dustin Stoltzfus on this one. I don't know about Kelvin Gastelum anymore. I don't know. He's got a lot of miles. I mean, why is he still doing it? Is he going to get the title shot at middleweight? I don't think so. Should he be probably fighting at welterweight? Probably. And Dustin Stoltzfus had a few impressive wins. Most notably beat Marc-Andre Barrio, the Canadian. So, I mean, for the odds, plus 200, that's not a bad bet for Dustin Stoltzfus. This one's a good one. Alexander Hernandez taking on Diego Ferreira. When this fight first opened up, Alexander Hernandez was a pretty big favorite, almost a 2-1. And a lot of money has been going on Diego Ferreira because those odds have now changed to pretty much dead even odds. And in my opinion, I think Diego Ferreira should maybe even be a slight favorite in this one. I mean, Alexander Hernandez, he's beat the 2 guys coming out the Ultimate Fighter, beat Austin Hubbard, who came off the Ultimate Fighter, beat Kurt Holloway, who was coming off the Ultimate Fighter. And then his last fight, he destroys Chase Hooper, Ben Askren's son. And now he's taking on Diego Ferreira. Diego Ferreira, he looked really good in his last 2 fights before the Grant Dawson fight. So, knocks out Michael Johnson and finishes Mateusz Rebecki. And Mateusz Rebecki at the time when he finished him was like 19-1. So, very impressive. If he can go back to the Diego Ferreira that fought Michael Johnson, the Diego Ferreira that fought Mateusz Rebecki, I'm going to go with Diego Ferreira on this one, even though he is 40 years old. I think he can get the job done. I'm always worried, though, when a lot of money starts going on a fighter. I'm like, oh, no. I personally like to bet against the public, but that's just me. Quang Bang Lee, fighting out of Minnesota, born in Vietnam. Not many Vietnamese fighters in the UFC. Quang Lee, he's had 3 fights in the UFC, and he's only won one of them being his last one. And then you're taking on Border Boy Santiago Luna. I'll go with... Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I'm going to go with Quang Lee just because he's got some UFC experience and 21 years old, no fights in the UFC. I don't know. We'll see, but I'll go with Quang Lee on that one. Dusko Todorovic take on Jose Medina. Dusko Todorovic, huge favorite, even though he's coming off 3 straight losses. So crazy. You got a guy who's coming off 3 straight losses, 2 of those being finishes. Now he's a minus 400 favorite to take on Jose Medina. Jose Medina coming off 3 straight losses as well. So I'll go with Dusko Todorovic, clearly minus 400. Claudio, the Prince of Peru, Puelles take on Joaquim Silva. This one's going to be a tight one. This is going to be close. I mean, when I first seen Claudio Puelles come to the UFC, he got some crazy knee bars. He had like 2 knee bar finishes. He's got 3 knee bar finishes. We even knee barred Clay Guida, the Carpenter. And then he ran into a man by the name of Dan Hooker, and Dan Hooker absolutely destroyed him with that body kick. And then fought Ferez. It's close fight, close decision. I'm hoping the Prince of Peru can get back on track here. I'm going to go with the Prince of Peru on this one, Claudio Puelles. I think he needs a win. I think he's going to get it. Tatiana Suarez taking on Amanda Lemos. I think Amanda Lemos should absolutely Tatiana Suarez should absolutely dominate Amanda Lemos. She should just take her down at will, dominate the top game. I hope she's worked on her striking. Clearly, that's definitely a hole in her game. But yeah, her wrestling is very good. Her only loss came to the champ, and I think this will be a step down in competition for her. So Tatiana Suarez should absolutely dominate the wrestling in this one and just probably grind out the decision or maybe even get a submission. Luis Gruel. I seen his fight on the Contender Series. He won a split decision. It was a war, though, against Nick Piccini. Then his last fight, he gets absolutely destroyed, finished by O'Day Osborne. Now he's taking out Jesus Aguilar. Yeah, I mean, Jesus Aguilar had a tough first fight in the UFC against Tatsuro Taira. Then he won 3 in a row, and then his last fight, he loses against another undefeated guy who is also 12-0 against Rafael Estevam. I'm going to go with Luis Gruel on this one, but this one is a close one. Might even be a decision. Zachary Reese taking on Cedric Dumas. Cedric Dumas was that guy, he's trying to fight the streamer, 4 extras or whatever. That probably ain't going to be happening anytime soon. But, so Zachary Reese, he's won 4 out of his last 5. That only the 2 losses was to Cody Brundage and Azamat Bikov. So he's won 4 in his last 5 and 4 out of his last 6 actually. So Cody Brundage and Azamat, and now he's taking on Cedric Dumas. I think I'm going to go with Zachary Reese on this one. And the last one I'm going to touch on here is the Ultimate Fighter winners, or trying to be the Ultimate Fighter winner. Both guys looking, if you guys watched the Ultimate Fighter, Chael, DC, these guys were the top guys in that welterweight weight class. Rodrigo Sonato, he had that beef with that Diego guy, the other Brazilian dude on the show, and that was like the thing. Like, they had their own beef and they had a tough fight, but it was I'm not gonna lie, his fights on the Contender Series or Ultimate Fighter, they weren't the most impressive. No finishes. His last fight was a close split decision, and the other guy, though, the Ukrainian Daniil Donchenko, that guy, he's got some heavy hands. He completely destroyed Matt Dixon his last fight. Matt Dixon's tough. So I'm going to go with Daniil Donchenko. I think if it stays on the feet, he'll get the KO, but haven't really seen too much of his ground game. If Rodrigo's, he should probably look to exploit the ground game of Daniil. So, that's it. It's going to be a good fight. Good card, and then you got the boxing right after. This is it's going to be a good weekend of fights. And if you guys need to place a bet, BetUS, promo code Iceman. You already know. Out.